Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make a side ruched bubu dress or top. If you'd like to see how I made this, please watch to the end of this tutorial. For this project, I used 2.5 years of Ankara fabric. So I used 2.5 because I want to make this into a dress. If you want yours as a top, 2 years should be enough. And I folded my fabric into 4, the front into 2 and the back into 2. I folded using half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with plus the length of the sleeve I want. And for the width, for the length of this Ankara, I use 38 inches including the hemming allowance. So I've ruled out a line at the top, which is my shoulder line. So that would be the start line for all my measurements. So on the shoulder line I have 19.5 inches. So at the edge of the fabric I came down by 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope, and then I'm taking the measurement 3.25 inches as my neck width. So I'll connect the 1.5 inches I came down by to the 3.25 inches, which is my neck width. That's to take the shoulder slope. So for the neckline, for the back, I'll be taking 1.5 inches for the back neck depth, and the neck width is 3.25 inches. And for the front neckline, I'm taking a neck depth of 7 inches. I'm making this into a V neckline in front, and the neck width is the same for the front and the back. So I'm connecting my points as shown. So for the sleeve opening, I'm going to take a measurement of 10 inches from the shoulder slope. From the 1.5 inches I came down from shoulder slope, I measured 10 inches for the sleeve opening. I'll be sewing with 1 inch, so I'll be left with 9 inches. That means I want the round sleeve opening to be 18 inches after sewing. So I'm going to make this point into a line like this, and this will act as my chest line. So on this point, I'm going to impute 1/4 of the hip measurement plus extra 5 inches. So you can add as much as you want depending on how free you want it to be. So I have a total of 15 inches, and I'm going to take this measurement down to the hem of this dress. And after taking these measurements, I'm going to connect the points, okay, from this point down to the hem of the dress. So I have 1/4 of the hip plus extra 5 inches, and I'm making a curve here to avoid the arm area being straight. Okay, before I cut out, I'm going to take 1/2 inch at the shoulder region for shoulder joining allowance, for joining the front and the back together, and I'm going to connect them, the points together. After this, I'll go ahead and cut out my dress. So while cutting, remember to cut the neckline for the front separate from that of the back. Okay, so I've cut out my dress. The next thing will be to cut facing for both the front neckline and the back neckline. So I've put a fabric on fold, and I'm just going to cut out the neckline just as I'm demonstrating. And this folded fabric underneath, I have after tracing the neckline, you should have at least up to 4 inches all around. So this is what I mean. I'm going to measure 4 inches all around this left fabric after tracing out the neckline. So this will be for my facing, and on this facing piece I'm going to iron gum stay to it for both the front and the back. So I would place them right side to right side using the facing to turn the neckline. After sewing with 1/2 inch, I'm going to notch and then top stitch to the facing fabric. So I'm doing the same thing for the back. I put a fabric on fold, I'll trace out the neckline, and also take a measurement of 4 inches all round for my back facing. I'll also iron gum stay on the facing piece. I'll then open it up right side facing each other on the fabric, use it to turn the neckline, so with 1/2 inch, notch and top stitch on the facing. So I have strips. I've folded this fabric. I'll use it to cut out the strips for the drawstring. So I'll be cutting a width of 1.5 inches and a length of about 40 to 50 inches. So you make it as long as you want your drawstring to be. So I'm just going to cut this out, and I'll be needing 4 pieces because I'll need 2 for each side of the dress. Okay, so I'll just fold. After cutting, I'm going to fold half this way, and then I'm going to fold into two again and sew them into a strip. So here I've turned my neckline, so you can see what I have. I've turned the neckline for both the front and the back. So I'm going to join them by the shoulder. I'm going to place the front piece on the back piece, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to hold them by the shoulder this way. I'm going to flip one of the facing to the other side as I'm demonstrating this way. Okay, and then I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch all down. That's the allowance I left for sewing the shoulder together. I'll do that for the other side as well. After doing that, I'm going to hem my sleeve, the opening. I'll fold 1/2 inch twice and hem, and then this is what I have. I've joined the shoulder and I've hemmed my sleeve, so you can see what I have at this point, and I've ironed in the rough edges this way. So the next thing will be to sew with 1 inch allowance, to sew up the sides with 1 inch seam allowance. Make sure you sew with up to 1 inch seam allowance from the sleeve this way down. Okay, so I've sewn the sides together. I've sewn them so everything is closed. I'm going to notch the arm region area so that it relaxes properly. So after notching, just pay attention. This is where the ruched part comes in. So from the, I've folded my fabric equally into two this way. So from the hem, I've not hemmed the lower part of this dress. So from the edge of my dress, I'm going to measure upward 13.5 inches. This is where I want, how long I want the ruched part to be. Okay, so you can measure yours and start from the waist, okay, from your half length, but this is where I want this to start. So I've measured that point. My fabric is on the wrong side, mind you, so I'm going to notch this point, this 13.5 inches. I'm going to notch on this side, one side, and I'm going to measure that 13.5 inches on the other side. So it's going to be on the two sides, and I'm going to notch my seam. So I've notched, okay, I'll notch, I'll cut till almost close to my seam, okay, the seam I used in sewing the sides. So then from the hem again, from the edge of the fabric, I measured 1.5 inches upward. This is where the ruche is going to stop. So I'm going to notch this point again. From the edge, I measured 1.5 inches and I'm notching it. So you can see I notched two places, 13.5 inches up and 1.5 inches up again, and I notched. So this is the parts that I would be folding for my hemming allowance. So that's why I notched it. The drawstring wouldn't get into that point. So I've made my strips for the drawstrings. So I'm going to use this notch part to make a channel for passing these strips, okay, so that we can form the drawstring. So I would fold in 1/2 inch on one side and then fold and sew, okay, making a channel. So I'll go to my sewing machine and demonstrate what I'm saying. Okay, so we are going to make a channel for passing the strips. So here I've folded in the allowance. Now you have the seam allowance on both sides, so you fold in 1/2 inch or less than 1/2 inch and to sew, and you're going to be sewing at the edge. So you can see how I'm sewing at the edge of my fold on one side. I'm using the seam to make a channel, so I'm sewing at the edge of that fold. From the notch I made, the first notch, the 13.5 inches notch, I'm going to sew and stop at that other notch, the second notch, at 1.5 inches from the hem of the dress, from the edge of the dress. So I'll do this on one side. That is for passing one strip. Then I'm going to repeat it for the other side, the other seam. I hope you understand. I'm going to fold in half and sew at the edge of the fold. So when I do this for one side, this is one side of my dress, I'm going to repeat the same exact thing on the other side. So we've created thereby creating 4 channels for the strips we made. So after making these channels, I'm going to go ahead and then hem my dress. Okay, you make the channels before you hem. So I'm folding 1/2 inch twice and hemming my dress all through. Then after hemming, I'm going to bring the strips. I'm going to use a safety pin, attach it to one end of a strip, of each strip, and then I'm going to pass it through the channels I've made. Okay, so this sewing is we just created channels for the strip. So I'm going to use a safety pin. Sorry guys, I didn't know that this was out of focus, but I'm just passing the strips through the channel I've made using a safety pin. So I started from the hem part and I'm going to push it up till I get to the opening at the other end, the first notch I made, the 13.5 inches notch I made. So I'm going to pass this out. I'll pass for all 4 channels I made. I'll pass all the strips. Okay, so for this one I've passed the first strip and I'm also going to pass the second strip. Okay, so you can see I've passed the 2 and you bring it out enough so that it crosses the point. Okay, then after doing that I'm going to sew them in place. I'm going to make sure that this stays, the strips stay in place. So I'm going to sew across the notch, the place I notched the 13.5 inches. So I'm going to sew. I'll come down by like 1/4 of an inch and sew that point, sewing the 2 strips I've passed so that it stays in place. Okay, so you can see what I'm demonstrating. I'm sewing from one part of the channel to the other end of the second channel, thereby making this to stay in place so it doesn't go off. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. Okay, the other side of the dress. So whatever I do to this side, I'll repeat for the other side. So when you do this, your strips will now be in place. It won't move off, it won't fall off as you're drawing this lower part. So this is it, how you make the ruche. Okay, you make your drawstrings at the side, so you can pull it up as much as you want. So you can just pull it as much as you want. So guys, this is it for how I made this dress. Okay, you can make your drawstring the strip as long as you want. Okay, so mine was too long, I later reduced the length. Okay, so guys, this is it on this dress. You can draw it up as much as you want. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're here to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.